Honestly, don't even know why I put that poll up. I knew it was gonna win. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome to the Void Theater. As always, I'm your host Alexander and we're back to talk about Total Drama Island. Or more specifically, the 2023 reboot that was supposed to come out later this year, but thanks to a colossal mistake by what I assume was some intern who's now going to get a personal demonstration of the Chris McClane treatment, we now have access to the entire first season of the show, which sucks for the production company, the artists, and the animators, but it allows this video, so little torn on how I feel here. So just before we get too deep into this, let me make this very clear. There will be very few clips of the actual show in this video, and it will be mostly spoiler free. Sorry if that's what you're here for, but I don't know how much I can actually show, and I'm not willing to bet my channel on it. Secondly, and I know this is rich coming from the guy who shits on animation corporations constantly, but if you do end up watching this show or have already seen it, please support it officially when it comes out. With the recent final steps of Discovery and Warner merging, animation needs all the support it can get. So if anything, take this video as a recommendation to see the show fully when it officially releases. But now that we got all the legal crap out of the way, we can begin. So without any further ado, let's put this reboot on stage and see if it can survive elimination. Alright, so let's get the first major thing out of the way and talk about Chris's voice. For anyone unaware, Chris McClane's voice actor was switched from the original actor, Christian Potenza, to the new but familiar voice of Terry McGurran. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he also played the lead in The Redonkulous Race, where he was the show's replacement for Chris, Don. And I can't even begin to explain the levels of irony there, considering the reason he may have potentially been replaced was because he was an alleged sexual predator and abuser. Again, irony. But as for the actual voice work, you're hardly going to notice. By the time I started episode 2, it hardly felt like there was any noticeable difference.
On Total Drama Action!
On Total Drama Island!
As for why they didn't just replace Chris, I can't say I don't understand why. Chris McClane is arguably the most iconic character in the entirety of Total Drama, so replacing him doesn't come as easily as it should. It was a real lose-lose for the company because if they replaced him, there's a chance people tune out because he was a hard selling point for a lot of people. On the other hand, having someone else do the voice also creates that similar issue, albeit to a lesser extent. Chris is a lot like Handsome Jack. Part of his major appeal is his snarky attitude and his distinctive voice. So the team had to play with the cards they were dealt and they chose the lesser of two evils. Thankfully, the replacement they got turned out to be a great choice, and I think he'll be able to carry the show for any future seasons. But speaking of new characters, let's actually cover this new set of campers, because for the first time since the Redonkulous Race, we have an all-new cast, and they're actually really solid picks. Like most of the cast in the various seasons of the show, there are some that are going to be fan favorites, and others that are going to be met with less than stellar reputations. Design-wise, I think all the characters look great. They'll have a unique design and really stand out against each other, with the exception of two characters, Julia and Nichelle. But I think that was the point considering what they do as a profession. But I think the real winner here is Lauren, or Scary Girl, considering that's what everyone seems to call her. I'm gonna be honest here, I didn't think I would like her as much as I did, but I vibe with the weird toga Joker thing she's got going on. It's a neat little joke and it kept me laughing. Also, just for the sake of my sanity, please tell me I'm not the only one who sees the resemblance between Pyra and Connie from Steven Universe. Seriously, look at them side by side and tell me she doesn't look like a teenage version of Connie. It can't be just me, right? Whatever, I'm talking to a void anyway. Moving on, personality-wise was where I felt the show was lacking a bit. Not in the way they acted, but more so just the tropes they were based on. A lot of the characters' bases are fairly standard, but some I would say are definitely made to represent current times. The main ones that stuck to me were Ripper, whose main personality trait could be summed up as weird alpha male frat bro. Then there's Chase and Emma, who are essentially a former YouTube prank couple that broke up. And then of course Julia, who's your stereotypical influencer girl. Though I will admit, I do like the jab Nichelle has about the difference between being an influencer and being an actual celebrity. And I also think it says a lot about the writers that out of 16 contestants, only about 4 of them actually managed to make me want to kind of just tune them out. On the other hand, the characters who were enjoyable were frankly outstanding additions to the cast. Besides Scary Girl, I think the next best addition might be Damien. His personality is one note, that being that he's never seen the show and once he's on it, he wants to get off as fast as possible. But his attitude towards everything more than makes up for it. You're not watching him for his character arc, you're here to see his reactions. It's a simple joke that's easy to fail, but it's hard as hell to master, and the writers knocked it out of the park with this season. I also want to shout out Wayne and Raj, who both feel like a perfected version of Sadie and Katie. Whereas the former came off as screechy and annoying, you can't help but enjoy Wayne and Raj's relationship. It really feels like the epitome of boys just being boys, helped by the fact that unlike Sadie and Katie, they're actually fairly smart. It's just kinda lost in the sports talk. Everyone else jumps from okay to good, but the ones I mentioned deserve some real serious praise. But let's move on and talk about the humor. Easily the second most important thing in the series, but that'll be safe for last. Now, Total Drama is a show that's known for its humor. It's raunchy, juvenile, and absolutely toilet based. I'm gonna be honest, if you dislike that, you're either new to the series or you've been watching the wrong show for a while now. But I'm happy to say that this season is genuinely hilarious. There were more than a few times where I replayed certain parts of the episode just because I wanted to hear the jokes again. And because I'm shouting out some of the better parts of the show, I love the joke of Priya's parents being fans of the original Total Drama show. Though I would say fan is a bit underselling. They were more obsessed with it, which led to them essentially grooming Priya into being a perfect candidate. It's weird and off-putting, and it's perfect Total Drama humor. And that's not mentioning Chef, who might just have some of the best comedic timing I've seen out of his character throughout any of the seasons. He's been upgraded from Chris's on-again, off-again co-host and lackey to his straight-up second-in-command, and it's perfect. This is the strongest their back and forth has been in nearly all the seasons, and is easily at its peak here. In the earlier seasons, Chef has always tried to be at the bare minimum the voice of reason to Chris's more deranged antics. However, Chris could just ignore him most of the time since he was technically below him. But now, since he's essentially his equal, he actually listens, and it leads to some great banter. As for the series' signature gross-out humor, it's back and it's better than ever. But it follows that golden rule of comedy where the characters should always have a worse reaction than the viewers. There's actually one episode in particular that's food-based, and the grand finale for it is honestly horrifying. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't laughing the whole way through. And that's not counting the various contestants so terrible, even Chris and Chef seem to hate them. Also, for the person that made episode 5, your fetish is leaking into your work.
You guys are disgusting.
But let's wrap this up with the real meat of the show, the drama. And I'll keep it short because I don't want to go too deep into spoiler territory. But if the humor is the backbone of Total Drama, then the drama is the brain and the heart. It's what keeps everything running. The show wouldn't be where it is if it couldn't recapture that feeling of watching those old Survivor shows. But it's 2023. The times have changed, and those shows, while still popular, have definitely gone down in popularity over the years. So the question becomes, can Total Drama keep things interesting with an outdated premise? And the answer is absolutely. Look, I know it looks like I'm going easy on the show, and maybe I am. I'll never say that I'm not immune to nostalgia, but even ignoring that, this show was just genuinely fun to watch. And that's coming from someone who literally grew up on the original seasons. This was probably one of the first outside of the original runs where I was invested enough to just keep watching. Nearly everyone at the very least felt like they were a good fit for what the story wanted to do with them, and every episode made me want to jump right into the next one. But that brings us back to the main question. Is Total Drama 2023 worth watching? And I can say without a doubt, yes. And let me explain why. Look, I know I'm critical when it comes to animation. You don't make a channel like this without being a bit of a cynic. And for anyone who's seen my other videos, you know I'll defend story-driven shows with every breath. I love them, even the ones that feel like they could have been better like Steven Universe. But I can't deny the fact that Total Drama is so appealing because it's not story-driven. This is a show that is just pure brain candy. It's sugary sweet nothingness filled with crass toilet humor, cheap jokes, and an overabundance of farting. And you know what? It wears that badge like it's proud. And in a sea of great story-driven shows, it's nice to just have one where you can just jump in, scroll your phone, and laugh without having to look up. So the rating I'm giving Total Drama 2023 is a complete rewatch. Like I said, it's not going to surprise you with what it's doing, but you're still going to have fun with it. But with that, we come to the conclusion on the review of the newest season of Total Drama Island. I gotta be honest, with how many terrible remakes and reboots we've gone over the years, I fully expected this to be terrible. But as of now, the only two animated shows that I think could top this in hype for me are Invincible Season 2 or My Adventures with Superman. But that's for later. So as always, with the current closing, I'll leave you with some questions. Are you planning on watching the new season of Total Drama when it comes out? And if by some unknown reason you've already seen it, what are your thoughts on it? Leave your comments down below and be sure to like and subscribe for more content as well. Until next time, I've been your host Alexander, and I hope to see you back in my theater.